Good morning. We are live on YouTube, but we want to be live on Facebook as well. So we're going to bring in the Atlanta Falcons fans on All Falcons Facebook group, 15,000 strong and growing. Once we have everybody in here, we'll say hello to everybody and we'll get started. Welcome to the Falcons Podcast. Good morning, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast, Wednesday morning, 9:05 Eastern. We go live every Monday and Wednesday on this channel, and then we also go live on Fridays to talk all kinds of football, all NFL stuff. Draft is coming up. We're going to start getting into draft big. So we're on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at this channel. If you're listening after the fact, come join us. Hit that subscribe button so you know where to find us. YouTube.com/Scott Kennedy is the easiest way to find us, and you can follow me on the Twix at Scout Kennedy. But we go live every morning because we like interacting with some of the folks. And I want to say hey to some of the people that have come in nice and early, like Michael Ronquillo. Good morning, Michael. He says, good morning, Scott, on the Falcons Podcast. Good morning to you as well. Denver Luke's here as well. Good morning, Scott. Hope you are doing well. Well, thank you, sir. Right back at you. John Harrell has come in nice and early also before we even had gone live. He says, good morning, Scott and the Falcons family. And the Facebook is reaching its way out and finding and alerting all the folks that they'll be coming in as well. So looking forward to talking to all of my Facebook fam as well. So I wasn't here on Monday. I was traveling with travel baseball, and I know it was probably a contentious time. I'm kind of wondering what the mood is right now with the Atlanta Falcons. I'm kind of thinking most folks are still on the it's time for change bandwagon. It's 3-3. Ritter's been more down than up. Arthur Smith and this offense is now ranked. Falcons offense scoring 29th. They are 29th in the NFL with this schedule in scoring. That's bad. They were 15th last year, and we said that it was a field goal away. They were 21 points, which put them at 15th last year. They were a field goal away from being a top 10 offense. Could they do that with the additions at left guard, with the additions of Bijan Robinson, some upgrades at wide receiver? The one big change was quarterback, and that quarterback played okay down the stretch the last 4 games. It's regressed. The offense has regressed. The total offense is 16th, so it's not that far off. What's one of the big differences? Turnovers. The turnovers are really hurting his team. Des Ridder has 6 interceptions, and he's fumbled 3 times. This team has lost 4 fumbles with 6 interceptions. That puts them at -6th on the season, which is 27th in the NFL in turnover margin. If I look up turnover margin and I read the teams that are at the very bottom of this, let me look, because I just had looked at this, and there's one anomaly in there. Everybody else is pretty much, okay, yeah, they're a bad team. The teams at the bottom of the barrel in turnovers: New England Patriots, Cleveland Browns, Minnesota Vikings, Vegas Raiders, Chicago Bears, Atlanta Falcons, Denver Broncos, Miami Dolphins. They are -4 as well. Carolina Panthers, New York Giants. Those are the teams that are at the bottom of the turnover margin. And I think what I mentioned, 10 teams, 8 of them are bottom 10 teams. So taking care of the ball is hurting this team dramatically, and it no more so than in a game that was easily winnable for the Atlanta Falcons against the Washington Commanders. You can put that game at the feet of the offense, the coach, and the quarterback, and they're the ones getting the brunt of the vitriol, the anger, and I get it. I'm interested in this. Isn't a knee-jerk group. This is a group in here in these conversations we have. Y'all are pretty level-headed. I mean, we all get emotional. Where are you right now on this? Is it time to make a change? Do you want to see another game? Are you willing to give it a chance? I'll tell you where I am first and see if that helps bias influence where you are. I'm not ready to make a change yet at quarterback. And the reason why is because I still have seen enough good to know that I don't know that Taylor Heineke is going to be a big upgrade. Now, if you keep giving the ball away, it's going to be a problem. Take care of the ball, let your playmakers play, and you should be okay. The way this defense is playing, you should win games. Stop giving the ball away. That's killing the team. I don't know how big of an upgrade Taylor Heineke is going to be. Desmond Ridder should be able to get better with experience. For me, this was not a team that was going to compete for the Super Bowl. This was a team that should take the next step and make it towards the playoffs. They're still there. This team is still in playoff contention at 3-3. They can still do that. I'm willing to give Desmond Ridder, I'm willing to give Arthur Smith to be a little more patient and see what can happen across, the first 10, 12 games as they hang around playoff contention. If that starts slipping away, you fall 2 games under 500, I want to see it. I want to see a change. This team needs to make the playoffs, or there's going to be some hard questions asked of the head coach. There's going to be some changes made. That's where I sit. But I don't see that this team is, oh my goodness, they're losing, the season slipping away from them. And they've got this team that is a Super Bowl contender, and they need to make a change now to say, I don't see that. I don't. Worst case, this team misses the playoffs. That's worst case. And what's the best case for this team? You're in the playoffs. Maybe you win a divisional round, or a wild card game. Maybe, I just don't see this team competing with the upper 4 or 5 teams of the NFC. So I'm willing to have just, a little more patience on that. But that's where I sit. So some more folks have come in. I want to say hello real quick. Let me grab a sip of coffee real quick. And apologies for that, but if I don't grab a sip, I will stop talking, which you might like anyway, because my throat will just burn up in flames. Dominic Jaramillo is in. He says, good morning, Scott. Falcon Nation. Dog Nation, Broncos country. Big game for us dogs this weekend. I'm guessing it's the world's largest cocktail party. Should be. I feel like that one's gone Georgia's way for a while. That one went against Georgia for a long time. But I feel like that one, along with the Auburn game, pretty much anybody Georgia's been playing lately, has gone your way. Jordan Brown, good morning, guys. I'm glad we didn't talk Monday. I've had some time to cool down. I felt a little bad for not being here for y'all to let everybody kind of vent a little bit. My colleagues over at Mile Huddle, they call themselves they've gotten called the football priests, and it's so you can vent, exercise these demons. I know where you're coming from. If you're out on Ridder, if you're out on Arthur Smith, I'm not going to try and argue you out of that. And I would say, I think it was Rise Up Reader. I don't know what he's called himself now. He's got a decent Twix following. Put out a poll, who do you blame for this? And he put up Ridder. He put up Arthur Smith, offensive line, and Terry Fontenot. And it hadn't gotten a lot of votes yet, but it was split almost evenly between Arthur Smith and Desmond Ridder. And I voted for Arthur Smith. I mean, Desmond Ridder is not the one that decided Desmond Ridder is the answer at quarterback. Desmond Ridder is not the one who is playing Desmond Ridder at quarterback. That's on Arthur Smith, and that's on Terry Fontenot. If Desmond Ridder is not good enough, you've had time, you've had chances to address the quarterback situation. So that falls head on the coach and general manager, who have said for the 3 years that they've been here that they work hand in hand, that they make these personnel decisions together. So I'm not excusing, I would say, okay, I'd like to see Arthur Smith with, an experienced plus quarterback. They're hard to find, which is why I, wanted to take a quarterback in 2021. Wanted to trade down, but I'd be real interested to have seen Justin Fields in year 3 of this, of an Arthur Smith offense, as opposed to year 1 of Desmond Ridder in year 3 of Arthur Smith's tenure. That was a problem. That is fairly predictable. So yeah, he deserves some of the blame for not having a quarterback if that's what is happening. Keith Johnson says, good morning, Scott. Good morning, Keith. How you doing? Keith asks, what happens if we get beat by the Bucks? Then I think the calls for Taylor Heineke are going to get pretty loud. I don't know if it'll happen at 3 and 4. What is the next game? I don't remember off the top of my head. I can't see that far into the future. After the Bucks comes the Titans. So it's at Buccaneers, at Titans. 2 winnable games. Titans aren't playing very well. They'll probably start amping up the talk for a trade for Ryan Tannehill. No. John Harrell says 3 plays cost the game. Punt return, interception, 4th and 3 in midfield equals 3 TDs for Washington. You might even want to throw in there deciding to go for 2 when you're down, 8 points. That didn't help. That put the math against you. The week before, against the games are already running together on me. Who did the Falcons beat? The Texans. Texans are a good team, y'all. We said that. The Texans went and handled their business against New Orleans. That was not a surprise. When Dez had the ball and the team was in rhythm, I felt good about it. Dez in this offense had the ball 3 times with 5 minutes to go and didn't come away with any points. And I never felt like they were going to either. That was the problem. That was, okay, they're starting to get a little bit of rhythm. And a back foot throw into the back corner of the end zone, it's just bad. The punt return was part of it, though. Special teams is going to cost you and get you a game all the time. And the defense played well and got put in bad situations over and over and over again by the other phases of the team. This defense is really good, and it still surprises me a little bit how good they are in coverage despite the lack of a pass rush. Now, I know they had sacks in this Commanders game, but by God, every single one of those was a coverage sack. There wasn't one of those where edge or somebody beats their man right at the middle and he's right in the quarterback before he has a chance to survey the field. Every single one of those sacks was Sam Howell dropping back. No. Oh, crap. Now I'm in trouble. Trying to get out of there. Good for them. I love the hustle on this defense, but this is a run-stopping line with maybe the exception of Grady Jarrett, who's going to get double-teamed in pass rushing situations. And congratulations to Calais Campbell for getting that 100. If you're around my age, you might remember Dale Murphy sitting on about 398, 399 and never getting that 400. I was starting to worry about that a little bit with Calais Campbell. But I'm glad he did get that off his back. Great for him. What a terrific person. Chris Walker, he's making it in on Facebook. He says, good morning, Scott and everyone else. I haven't given up on Ritter yet, but the frustration is growing. I think that's the second part. That's universal. Everybody feels like that. Execution and performance need to improve. The turnovers, penalties, miscues, and the ineptitude at the worst possible times needs to be stopped or greatly reduced. And again, we watched 2 bad teams win 7 games by not having those big problems. The team last year, the 2021 team wasn't very good. They went 7-10. Statistically, in almost every measure, that team got worse last year. Their offense was worse. Their defense was worse. Everything got worse, but they still won 7 games. Now, one of the things that I found interesting, I saw a stat. The Falcons were the number 1 team in quarterbacks faced. Now, let me explain that. They did a list. They said, what percentage of your games were against a team's starting quarterback, against their number 1? And the Falcons, theirs was the lowest. They only faced a starter like 56% of the time last year. That helps you win 7 games when your team is as bad as it was last year. But they played mistake-free football. They played disciplined football. And a little bit right now, not only are they making mistakes, they're predictable. Oh, it's 3rd and whatever. Let's get the ball to Bijan. I don't care how. Let's figure out, man, there's other ways to do this. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit. Y'all know that. But it feels like that to me. You're predictable in these cases. You cannot be predictable against these Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they will load up to stop the run. Their run defense right now is 7th in the league. Their scoring defense is 8th. Their passing defense is 26th. So you might have to come out of your comfort zone just a little bit and pass the ball. Now, with back-to-back 300 games, the Falcons' offense passing attack is up to 18th. Their total offense is up to 16th. The turnovers and red zone offense is killing them. They're only in 29th in scoring. This should be at worst back to a 15th type of offense where they were last year, at worst. And then you've got a top 5 defense right now. Now, their scoring isn't the same. The Falcons' scoring is 14th. Total yards is 4th. Now, I give them a short field. They don't have very far to score. That runs up my scoring off my score and keeps my yardage down. But this is a big time playoff defense right now. They've got to find a way to start getting pressure. You play one of these playoff teams, playoff quarterbacks, they're going to slice and dice you to pieces. I'm not going to have the luxury of letting CJ Stroud sit back there and try and find places. I'm not going to have the luxury of Justin Fields back there come playoff time. I'm going to be facing the likes of Jalen Hurts, maybe a Matthew Stafford out there, even a Dak Prescott. These guys will all kill you. Brock Purdy, those guys are all better with time. And the lack of pressure on this team is still going to be its Achilles heel when they start playing good teams. Chad Evans, Meisner, apologies. He says, actually, I'm still pissed. Ritter is terrible. He's been playing poorly. He's been hurting this team. We said all year, all you have to do, and I don't remember who it was, but we asked the questions, why are expectations so low? Why are you setting the bar so low for Desmond Ritter? Because they don't have to be high for this to be a playoff team. All you have to do is not lose. Really. If you're the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons and you can manage this game, you're going to win 10 games. The rest of the team is good enough around this team that you can win 10 games just by not losing them. Six interceptions in 6 games, it's not good enough. He needs to be around 10 for the season, and he's going to have to get a lot better to be there. Jose says, try to get Julio Jones. That bridge is burned, and Julio just signed with the Eagles. So I'm actually surprised he signed anywhere, to be honest with you. I kind of thought he was done. I bet he's got a low guaranteed contract, maybe a little bit of a signing bonus, might be incentive laden. Come in midseason, get yourself healthy, and maybe you can help us make a playoff run. But I'll be surprised if he's over 300 yards receiving at the end of the year. We'll see. We will see. Jordan says, the biggest argument about, how can you judge Arthur Smith if the Falcons don't have a quarterback? Because Arthur Smith's been the one picking out the groceries. He's been involved in that. And Jordan agrees. He says, that's been my biggest argument. Coach Smith put a stamp of approval that Desmond Ritter was ready, especially without him playing during the preseason. That was weird. A guy needs snaps, and you've got a good backup. Why were you not playing Desmond Ritter? Really? I'm 100% with you. He should have gotten at least half the preseason snaps. Who are you trying to get ready? I don't even remember. Was it Logan Woodside? That's who needed the snaps. I have to make this big decision on whether or not I'm keeping Logan Woodside. I'm with you on that one. I kind of forget about that one. Billy Ellis says the Falcons always tease the fans. It's always, and we're not going to say those numbers in here, Billy. The problem is Arthur Blank. He should sell the team. He's not going to sell the team. Father Time will catch up to him. God bless him. He's an older gentleman. But Arthur Blank, his heart is definitely in the right place. If you're a Gen Xer or older, you had to deal with the Smith family, and the Rankin Smith Jr. and Sr. had absolutely no interest in putting a product on the field. Arthur Blank invests in this team. His problem historically, since he's been an owner, has been loyalty. He's been overly loyal to guys that should have been gone already. I don't know exactly what Rich McKay does, but he still does there. But I know that Thomas Dimitroff should have been fired with Mike Smith. Mike Smith, I think, is still the winningest coach in this franchise's history. And if you were going to get rid of him, you should have gotten rid of the general manager that put that team on the field. You bring in Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn got 1 year too many. He should have been gone in, 2018. He should have been gone after the 18 season, and Thomas Dimitroff should have been gone with him. It was 1 year too many. So it's almost overly loyal. But that said, Arthur Blank, I'm not going to say any of this is Arthur Blank's fault. He's putting up the money. He's improved this team and this franchise in so many ways, which was, I won't even say it was a laughing stock before he bought the team, because nobody cared. Nobody cared enough to point at the Falcons and laugh at them because they weren't worth it. Go up and do all-time winning percentages of franchises. And if the Falcons they're probably 30, 31, or 32. It took them 45 years to even have back-to-back winning seasons. And that didn't happen until Arthur Blank. That was a record in all of professional sports. That was a record. Arthur Blank helped usher in that era of competitiveness, but he holds on to guys too long. That's his biggest problem. Let me see here. And Robbie Red says, morning, Scott. Good to see you, Robbie. He says, happy for Campbell getting a sack milestone. We're with you on that one. Let me see. Keith asked a question. He says, off subject, sorry, but I'm going to the game on December 10th. What is something I need to know? Well, there's a lot you need to know. I always park I always park on International Avenue and walk. It's about a 15-20 minute walk rather than try and get down there whenever I go down to the games at the Benz. There's some parking off of there on International. You walk down, you walk through Olympic Park, and it's great. It's just easier than getting into all that traffic around the dome. That would be one of the things I would suggest. Or if you're a tailgater, get there nice and early. But we'll get into that as we get closer to December 10th, Keith. Walter Beach coming in. Appreciate the support, my friend. Always a big help. Thank you, sir. And let me see here. Jordan says one of the good things about Campbell getting his 100th sack was doing the dirty bird. That'll probably be in his clips forever. Yes, very cool. Very cool. Joe Cannon is here. Great morning to you, Joe. He said, I'd rather see Ritter with a real offensive coordinator than I would rather see Arthur Smith with another quarterback. That does feel like the chicken or the egg to me. Joe, I agree. It's just, has Arthur Smith had success in the past? Yeah, he has. The Tennessee Titans offense that he got a head coaching job out of was good. How much of that was Derrick Henry? How much of that was Ryan Tannehill playing a whole lot better in Tennessee than he ever did in Miami? You get credit for that. Arthur Smith got credit for that. He spun that into a head coaching job. And we've seen the Falcons overachieve the last 2 years. But the question coming in was now, okay, the spotlight's on you. You've got some expectations. You've got some money. Can you do more than get a bunch of misfits out there to play hard? Can you take legitimate, talented players, a bunch of first-round draft choices, a bunch of millionaire free agents, and mold them into something? And one of the things I like, Joe, about this team and Arthur Smith was how many players that wanted to come and play with the Falcons. There was a draw to this franchise and to this team because they're headed in the right direction. I don't think that's all gone yet. I really don't. And the good news is, if you decide to go try and get a quarterback next year, it's going to be expensive. You should have an infrastructure where it makes it more attractive to go get a bridge quarterback, the Kirk Cousins of the world. You really want to be in that once you do that, you're stuck in that situation until you finally use a first round pick on a quarterback. So I don't know. Corey Carter says we're getting upset about a third round quarterback playing like a third round quarterback. Well, again, I question why the starter is a third round quarterback if he's going to play like a third round quarterback. This is your third year in charge with the keys to this franchise, and you had some money. You've had high draft picks. If you've got a guy who's going to play like a third round quarterback, like I said, I don't blame Dez. I blame Dez for the turnovers. That's on him. He needs to take care of the ball better. But if he's not good enough, again, that's not his fault. I don't get mad. I don't feel like he's not trying out there. I don't feel like he's got a bad attitude. Those are things you can control. It's not his fault. Dez isn't the one that's putting himself out there. Dez isn't the one that decided that he was good enough to lead this team. Those are administrative complaints, criticisms I would have. Atlanta Dog says, good morning, Scott. Only 4 home games left. Are we headed for another 7-10 season? Ooh, another 7-10 season. I just have trouble seeing 7-10. Buccaneers, Titans, Vikings, Cardinals. Man, you should be at worst 2-2 out of that bunch. At worst. Saints, Gents, Buccaneers, Panthers. Again, 2-2. There's 4. And then you finish with Colts. Am I looking at no, that's the right one. Because the schedules are so similar between Tampa Bay and Atlanta. I had them both up at one point. And then you finish Colts, Bears, Saints. No, you can't win 7. Oh, Atlanta Dog. If they're 7-10 again, as loyal as Arthur Blank is, I can't see him making a change in the offseason. But it would be the last year. Next year would be the last year. Get it done, or you get it done in your 4th year, or you're done. Ooh, can't see it. He's calling 11-6. I'm down to 10-7 and 9-8 now. I had 4-2 after 6 games, but one of those games was lost. Washington Commanders. You needed to win that one. My Swanker comes in. Good to see you. He says, is Smith on the hot seat? Does Redder get benched, or do we find a new quarterback in the trade deadline? Who would you even get in the trade deadline? Who would you even go get at quarterback? Kirk Cousins? Ryan Tannehill? No, I don't think so. I think your replacement, if they make a switch, is already on the roster. I think it would be Taylor Heineke on that one. I'd like to see him go after Danielle Hunter, though. I'd like to see him go get an edge. And Jordan says the box score was alarming. We won every line except turnovers. And that was the same thing against Houston, too. By a wide margin, dominated the game except the turnovers. We didn't look like a team that was really in the game the whole time. And that happens when you get a special team score and you go down 2 scores and you have trouble scoring. When you go down 2 scores and you're the 29th scoring offense in the NFL, it feels like a hell of a lot more than 2 scores. That's for sure. Brad Clark giving some shout out to the defense. And I thought I'd say this, but our defense has played better than our offense overall. We have everything going except a consistent quarterback to lead the team. We should be killing it. We have too much talent to be squandering our offensive weapons. Our offensive weapons are a quarterback's dream. There should be no reason why we're not dominating on offense. And that was a concern coming in. You're only going to go as far as Desmond Ridder can take you. Otherwise, the offensive line is good. Yeah, there's some problems here and there, but overall, it's still a plus offensive line in the NFL. Your weapons on offense, you've got 3 top 10 picks. All right, that's good enough. And how quickly this team has come together on defense with all of these new faces is a testament to Ryan Nielsen. It's a testament to the scouting staff and Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith, who is helping to bring in these guys, and to the professionalism that they have. But right now, this is a bit of a one-year defense. And what I mean by that is Jeff Okudah played well. He's on a 1-year deal. Calais Campbell, 1-year deal. Bud Dupree, 1-year deal. Older guys, veterans. These guys were built to come in. They were bought to come in and play well this year. Don't squander it by pissing it away because your quarterback and your offense is regressing. And Chris says the irony is one of the reasons Arthur Smith was hired was this red zone efficiency. What the heck happened? Is it Ragone or is it him? I don't put any of it on Dave Ragone. I'll tell you that. I know execution, penalties, and turnovers are killing us. And there you go. When you get down there and you're throwing interceptions, last year, you remember, I think Marcus Mariota would play well, and then he'd give the ball away just all of a sudden. When he was playing well, it was a little crazy. Maurice comes in. He says, I'm not in love with the play calling. Feels predictable, doesn't it? It really does. It took how long? When I finally saw Kyle Pitts catch a ball in stride. When's the last time we saw that? When's the last time we saw Kyle Pitts catch one where he was opened up and got to stretch out that long frame of his and start running and dragging guys with him? It's been a while, it feels like. Ben Ford, good to see you coming in this morning. He says, we have the tools. Run game defense just looks like they're experimenting with offensive playmaking. Ben, I agree with this because I feel like you've heard them say we've got to find some ways to get started quicker, to get it going. And I feel like they've whipped out some gadgets early in the game just to kind of juice some things up. You really saw that in the game against the Texans, the double reverse pass, all kinds of stuff. But they have to open things up. This team, they're going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to get the ball downfield against Tampa Bay. I think Washington had given up 30 points 4 games in a row, 4 out of 5 games. Their pass defense was atrocious, but you still couldn't beat them with the pass. An NFL team is going to be able to stop your run if they sell out to stop the run. They're going to be able to do that, to limit you, to not get beat by running the ball over the course of 4 quarters by just putting 9 guys at the line of scrimmage. You're going to have the passing game's going to have to open some things up. Black Heisenberg comes in, or Block, pardon me. I'm not sure how to pronounce your first name. I got a name like Scott. It's boring. With the Ridder argument, it's just like the Tua argument. How long do you wait for him to grow? He is moving in the right direction, but growing pains and fans are too impatient. And the question here, one of the big differences is one of the reasons they're going to be more impatient is because he was a 3rd-round pick. You don't get all of the same chances. If you are a lower pick, you have to do it better. You have to do it quicker. You have to do it more often because the team doesn't have as much invested in you. Desmond Ritter's cheap. His third-round rookie contract is cheap. Tua was drafted high. He's expensive. We're going to have to be paying him. We better see what we can get out of him. So people are going to be there. The fans are going to be frustrated either way, but the team will be less patient with a third-round pick. So if he doesn't get it done this year, he probably won't get another year. He won't get, okay, this is a guy we put a ton of money into, a premium pick. Let's give him some time, but he's got to start showing. He can't have a good game and then 2 in the dump. He's got to start showing progression. And I've seen it, except for the turnovers. That has to stop. I don't need 300 yards and 2 touchdowns from him every game. I don't. But I can't have 2 turnovers either. 1 every other game would be great. But I think he's got 6 interceptions and a lost fumble right now. So he's at 1 point. What is that? 1.1666 for turnovers per game. And the games that they've lost, it's been 3. He's got 2 games with 3 interceptions. That can't happen. So Hucklebuck, it's an interesting name. He says this current debacle is squarely on the shoulders of Arthur Smith. Ineptness at quarterback assessment, lack of consistent play callability, lack of game management, understanding of situational football, which is strange because none of that happened before. That was all very different as far as the past year or so. Past 2 years, all of that stuff was in the plus column. It was a very disciplined team, low on penalties, low on turnovers. That's how they had to win games, because they weren't good enough to go out and go toe-to-toe with guys. They had to do it cleaner. They had to do it better than everybody else. I'm going to get rid of this spammer who's coming in here and, hitting up my community for their community. I don't mind you doing that every so often, but if that's the only reason you're in here, take a hike. Sorry, guys. Sean comes in, he says the yellow lot is where it's at. And Marie says, take the train. Man, going back to some of the things you should know, I like to drive in and walk. I'd rather walk for 20 minutes than stand in line for 10. So I like parking outside just a little bit. Oh, he really was spamming this. Sorry, I'm just now getting down to the bottom of this. So he was definitely worth a block. Sorry about that, y'all. On Facebook, you saw that. And Richard I agree with Richard here. It's only been 6 weeks. Offense can and still make adjustments and win out. Now, win out is stretching it a little bit. That would be 3-3, 6 games, 11 left, 14-3. I'll take some of that money, Richard. If that's what you're putting out there, I'll take the under on 14-3. But I still think 10-7, 9-8 right now with that loss, that one that you're in the negative column. Now you got to go beat somebody that I had you losing to, like at Tampa. And let's get into that one a little bit. Let's get into that at Tampa. And frankly, yes, I wanted to mention we're 30 minutes in, and I put his picture in put it in the highlights of the show, the comments of the show was Jalen Hawkins. I guess I shouldn't have been totally surprised that he was let go, but it did surprise me a little bit. Christopher, thank you for the reminder. He'd only played 30 snaps this season, and Richie Grant is one of like 10 players in the NFL that has played every snap on defense all year. There aren't very many of them. Richie Grant has played every one. Jesse Bates has played all but like 8. He got dinged up in like the second game of the year, if I remember right, and missed a few snaps. Jalen Hawkins hasn't played much. D'Amico Helms, a draft pick, has started to play a little bit more, but there hasn't been a need for that third, or if you're going to have Helms be your third safety, there hasn't been a need for a fourth. There hasn't really even been a need for a third to this point. So I don't know what they brought in. I didn't see a replacement in there yet. I was traveling this weekend, but I don't remember one coming across to see who they brought on the 53 to take his place. Probably not somebody overly significant. There's not a ton of money there. I know I have a lot of Denver Broncos fans that watch crossover and watch my different shows. Yes, if I'm the Denver Broncos, I would call Jalen Hawkins. He's better than PJ Locke. He's better than Kareem Jackson. He's healthier than Caden Stearns, who, he's out for a long time. That I'd be on the phone. I'd see if I could bring him in for a workout or something. Jalen Hawkins is a decent NFL player. You're in short supply of those in the secondary with the Denver Broncos. So I don't think he'll be out of work very long. And going back to the 1-year deals, Joe asked, could Okudah get another contract? He's been really good for us. Absolutely. Absolutely he could. But by not picking up his 5th-year deal, he is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. But we said at the beginning of the season, we hope that's what happens. We would love to see it happen where you're in the same situation where Okudah plays his way into, oh man, how are we going to afford to keep this guy? That means he played really well. That's what I'll take. It's like, oh, I don't want him to be cheap. I want him to play great and be expensive. And if he goes and gets another contract somewhere else, the Falcons might, I don't know the rules on this 100%. They might actually get a comp pick for him. Had him all year, goes and signs a big free agent deal. You might be able to actually get a comp pick. You traded what, a 5th for him and got him for free. Detroit picked up almost all his money. You might be able to spin that 5th pick into a year of good play and a 4th or 5th round pick in return. That'd be pretty nice. But yeah, he's been pretty good. He definitely has been pretty good. Jason, he's had enough. Bench Ritter already. Not going to be this week, but this is going to be, I think the Detroit Lions probably have the best defense the Falcons have faced so far. And after that might be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've been playing there right now. Their Bucs defense in scoring is top 10. They're 8th, 7th in rushing, 26th in passing. Turnovers, they are +4, which is number 4 in the NFL. They've only got 15 sacks, but that's still 5 more sacks than the Atlanta Falcons have, and that ranks them 20th. So this is going to be a good defense. They don't have to sell out to stop the run. They can just flat out stop the run. So somebody definitely they got their work. They've got their work cut out for them. He says, what in the world, Bo? What's up, Scott? It is good to see you, Big Low Country. Certainly appreciate you being here. Thank you for the support, my friend. I hope you are doing well, and the super chats mean a lot to us for sure. Thank you so much. Pamela Johnson coming in here. Good to see you. Just good morning, Scott. 2 things: cut down on penalties, and the run block must improve. Keith Smith, the fullback, can't be your only run block guy. The offensive line needs to step up in the run blocking. And it does, but that said, you're getting outnumbered in the run. When you're running the ball, 5 guys plus Keith Smith, you got 6 guys blocking, and teams are committing 8 or 9 to the run. You're getting outnumbered. And then when you go wide, you're pinning yourself in. So, when I've got 9 guys committed to the run, that toss sweep is awfully dangerous. Now you trust Bijan Robinson to go out there and make a cut, make a move, and find those holes. So I still like that better than going empty. That was one of my notes that I thumbed out to my friend as I was texting. I was like, why is this team going empty on 4th and 1, 4th and 2? They're not good enough to go 5 wide and go empty. And then, try and throw an out route to Bijan Robinson, force him the ball. Again, it's a little predictable on there. So you're going to have to back those guys off, Pamela. I think that the run blocking from the offensive line is fine, but they can't block 9 guys. And your wide receivers aren't going to be taking those guys and knocking people back 5 or 6 yards. They're not driving them off the line of scrimmage. So you end up with just a big cluster, and then free guys run into the ball to make plays at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. So until you can prove that I can beat you with the pass, you're going to be overloaded. So I think it's actually okay. And Jordan said agree with me. The empty set was driving you nuts. And Ryan agrees with me. He says, can't run the ball if the play calling is predictable. And that was part of it. Now, Snipes DeBarber is as dedicated a fan as you will ever see. On all of the comments, on everything, he's saying, get Kaliah Harris, get him off the practice squad. Go check the last preseason game. I think he had like 7 catches for 75 yards, led the team that game. But this is dedication. My guess is there's a relation here. Nobody is this dedicated without a blood tie of some sort, or, an agent, a blood, or it's either red or green, the ties that bind on this one, man. So I appreciate the effort. And Ryan says, I bet Van Jefferson doesn't get another shot for another 4 weeks on the deep ball. Man, it was almost there too, wasn't it? It's like, I was sitting there saying, yeah, this guy probably won't play. Only been there for 3 days. Well, I was on a pod last night where someone was saying this rookie who's averaging 20 yards per catch says, well, he doesn't know how to run routes. I'm like, that's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's not hard to run a route. Go in there, run a post. Here's your 6, run it. That's what they did with Van Jefferson, and damn, it almost worked. It was almost there. Just overthrew him just a little bit on that one. Richard Pierce says, I think Dan Reeves was a better coach than Mike Smith, even though Reeves got too conservative in the Super Bowl and lost it. Oh, God, this is a whole pod all to its own, Richard. I think Dan Reeves was the best coach the Falcons have ever had. But he was there before. Was he there before? I don't remember when blank bought the Falcons, but that was part of this dysfunctional franchise. They gave him all the power. The undoing for Dan Reeves was it cost him 3 jobs. It cost him in New York. It cost him in Denver. It cost him in Atlanta. He was not a general manager. He was a terrible general manager. And when he had both responsibilities, his team would eventually go down, 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 and down. He was a fantastic football coach. Hall of Famer, one of the best ever. Jay Black coming in. Look at this coming in with another super chat. Thank you, sir. I certainly appreciate the support. He says, Scott, Rids needs to threaten the backside runs, RPO just 3 times a game to open up. Absolutely. He's fast. He's not overly twitchy. He's not quick, but you don't have to be quick to be fast and hold on to the ball, make a read, and get 15 yards. So, yeah, where's that in the game? That said, Jay Black, I don't really want to run a run option into a 9-man front. You've got too many guys there. It's like, okay, well, I got the defensive end to crash down on my running back. Oh, but I'm looking at, a nickel corner, a safety in the box, and the outside corner that I now have to beat off the backside. It's just the whole running game isn't going to work if I'm looking at 9-man fronts, which is what I've been looking at a lot, Jay Black. And Ritter is having more success throwing the ball downfield, except for the turnovers. That has to stop. I mean, back-to-back 300 games. So I agree. Kasim says, if they're looking to load the box, we need to be able to stretch the field and make teams run sideline to sideline. Easier said than done a little bit. When I think the box, I think I say that, but I actually just mean the whole line of scrimmage where your press coverage. So you got 9 men on the line. I got 7 in the box. I got two outside. I'm basically playing 2 safeties back, and I'm pressing the line of scrimmage. So what you need to be able to do is beat those guys one-on-one. Where are my man beaters? Because those aren't zone coverages on there. Those are press coverages. I should be able to, and I got into this and started thinking more about it with Kyle Pitts and his lack of use or whatnot, and why he was so much more effective. I've always said for a long time, I prefer bigger receivers because they're always open. I can throw it to my 6'7" guy, just get it to him. The problem is, who did he have a lot of success with? He had his most success with Matt Ryan, who was an incredibly accurate quarterback. Whatever you think of Matt Ryan, nobody's going to say the guy was inaccurate. He could get the ball into a wingspan, a vertical wingspan. Problem with Mariota, the problem with Ritter is the downfield accuracy. If I overthrow a guy or if I underthrow a guy, the size doesn't matter because he's covered, but I take away his ability to use his size advantage if I'm overthrowing or underthrowing. If I can just get it high and get it up to him, then he's open. I think that's been one of the problems. So we're having guys that are having trouble getting separation. He's done really well with Drake London, but Drake London's a better receiver at getting separation right now than Kyle Pitts. Where is that guy that can get separation in press man coverage that can beat these guys to pieces? And Calvin Ridley was that guy. I'm not pining for Calvin Ridley, don't get me wrong, but can you get Van Jefferson off the line of scrimmage and get behind guys? Yeah, you did. You did. Now hit it. Absolutely hit it. So Big Low Country coming in again. Appreciate you again, my friend. Thank you so much. He says, hey, did you see that we went heavy in the first drive of the game with an extra tackle? Then we threw the ball on the 2-yard line. I mentioned Big Low about gimmicky, being a little gimmicky to start to get people out. Did you see who's that? Was it Ryan? It's not Newsel. What's his name? Is it Ryan Newsel? Is that who I'm thinking of? Who came off? Did you see the big grin, the ear-to-ear grin on his face? That's what I talked about when they started getting a little gimmicky at the beginning of the past 2 games to kind of get them excited, get people excited, get people into the game at home. And then, yeah, you go down there and throw the ball at the 2. You know, where's Keith Smith? Just follow him. Run right up the middle. We're talking about spreading it out and those guys in the box. Well, you know how you make it one-on-one blocking? You run up the middle. That's where I don't get outnumbered. Yeah, it's 7 men in the box. They can jam the gaps, et cetera, et cetera. But I can go 5-on-5. You can't keep filling. You can't put 9 guys into 5 gaps. So right up the middle. When you start going wide against 9-man fronts, it's bad news. When you start throwing it like that, Ritter's not good enough right there. He's not going to. Maybe once. I hate the fade. I freaking hate it. It's such a low percentage play. But all right, it's first down. I got Kyle Smith on this side. I got Drake London on this side. I got 6'5" and 6'6" and wings like a pteranodon. Wingspan like, a pterodactyl out there. I'll take a fade on first down. Instead, let's fake it and throw it to Jonnu Smith. Let's see if we can get Scotty Miller to come around on an end around. They won't see this coming because it makes too much sense. That bothers me. When coaches try and act like, outsmart themselves, that starts to really, really bother me. And Jordan, I know I'm live on this. He goes, stacking the box refers to defense trying to stop runs up the middle. I know I'm doing this live. So usually you talk about walking a guy up in the box. You got a 7-man front, then you walk a guy in the box, and it's tackle to tackle just behind the linebackers. That's the box. You see that, but you also see the defensive backs on the outside and press man. So not only do you have 7 guys in the box, you got 9 on the line of scrimmage. It's hard to run. It's hard to run anywhere against those guys for sure. Let me see here. We're getting closer to just about being done with this. And Raymond comes in. He says, there's still time to get it corrected. It's Arthur. It's up to Arthur. There is. It's 3-3. We've seen glimpses. God, the glimpses of the offense. We know this offense is better than this. We've seen it be better than this. Right now, turnovers are just killing this team. The defense is playing great. Let's keep that going. That's what we're looking for. And the offense has to start taking care of the ball and has to stop being less predictable. Sounds easy enough, right? Well, we'll see. This is going to be a big challenge. I think Tampa Bay is better than anybody has expected them to be. This was a team I honestly expected to be in the argument for a top 5 pick. Instead, they're sitting there at 3-2 after 5 games. I think they're coming off are they coming off a bye week? I don't remember for sure. It doesn't matter. But they're 3-2. They're at home against the Falcons. What do we know about Tampa Bay, though? They're 3 wins. Vikings, meh. Bears, meh. Saints, who knows? Saints don't look all that good. Their wins are against nobody, and they got beat by the Houston Texans. All right, so who beat them? The Eagles. Oh, yeah, okay. The Lions, 20-6, dominate them. Yeah, okay, those are 2 of the best teams in the NFC. So their 3 wins are against 3 of the worst teams in the NFC, and their 2 losses are against 2 of the best teams in the NFC. For me, this is a real chance where the Saints aren't one of the worst teams, but they're not an overly impressive. We don't know what we have with the Saints either. For me, this is now a chance to find out where this NFC South is really going to start stacking up, because the Falcons have been hit and miss, 3-3. Their best win might be against the Houston Texans. They beat the Panthers. Okay, who hasn't? They're 0-6. They beat the Packers. The Packers aren't playing that great of football either. This loss to the Commanders, that was a bad one. The other 2, okay, I'm okay with that. Lose to Jacksonville, lose to the Lions. Yeah, that was fairly predictable. I get that. We're talking tiers. Now it's time to start separating. Who wants to step up in the NFC South? This is a chance to see that happen. Ryan, he says, we don't stand a chance unless we actually go over the top and play strong in the red zone. Absolutely. What was it? Who was it against? Where they didn't even get, was it against the Lions where they didn't even get into the red zone? Or was it was the Jaguars? Didn't even get into the red zone. So we'll see. But this is going to be a challenge. It's always going to be a challenge when you're on the road in the NFC South. But the Buccaneers are better than we're expecting. Their offense isn't great. I think I went through the numbers. Yards are 25th, passing 17th, rushing 19th, scoring 25th. Their defense is really good. Look at the under on this one, y'all. Unless turnovers take over and special teams take over, we're looking at a 17-13 game. What's the overall on this one? Let me see. The over-under on this one, ESPN Gamecast is a 53% chance to the Buccaneers, 2.5-point favorites, and the over-under at 38. I like the under on this one. You've got the number 8 scoring defense on the Buccaneers, the number 4 overall offense, going against the number 29 scoring offense and the number 25 total offense. This is going to be a low-scoring game unless weird things start happening, like everybody starts giving the ball away. Of course, that said, it'll be 34-31. I picked the Buccaneers to start this one. I'm going to keep going that way. But my predictions are tough when I'm invested in a team like this and following them all the time. I'm better at looking away. But what I do like on this one is the under. I like the under the 38 points. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. I will be back on Friday. If y'all want to come join me, we're going to talk some of the best matchups and stuff in the NFL. We're back on Friday at 9:05. Be here for about a half hour or so to talk some football, get you ready. Want to say thank you to Big Low Country coming in twice with super chats. Jay Black coming in with a super chat as well. I think it was Mr. Beach that came in with some stars to get us started on Facebook too as well. Thank you so much. It means a lot. The best way to help directly support the show. If you're watching this after the fact, make sure you hit that like, leave a comment. I'll come in and answer anything that I screwed up. I do that all the time when I'm going live. Or if I need some clarification or you want to kick back on a point I've made, we're not all going to agree. That's okay. If you want Desmond Ridder gone, I understand. If you want Arthur Smith gone, I understand that too. I'm not there yet, but I'll listen. I'll absolutely listen. So on that note, I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you joining me, and we will see you on Friday. Come join us on Friday. Otherwise, I'll be back on Monday at 9 o'clock, and we'll take a look back. Falcons and Buccaneers. Y'all have a great rest of your week and a great football weekend.